Hi, this is Deborah Clutter. I have another block for you today. This is another 24-inch block, and this one is paper pieced. So I'm continuing with my Christmas fabrics and these blocks so that I can make a quilt out of them. I've had this block since 2015. That's when I drafted it. And this is only the second time I've ever pieced it. This block has 2 units you need to paper piece on the inside, so there's actually 16 units with the two different kind. They only have 3 sections. They're pretty easy to do. The crown around the edge, which looks like the little tulips, it has 7 sections. So it's the piece that takes the longest, and they take about 12 minutes to piece just one. So those are the longest thing that you have to do. And then of course you create the middle circle, applicate the center, and then sew it, piece the crown together and then sew it into the center, or sew this into the center. And then that circle gets sewed into the sides. So there's a little bit of curved piecing, and it's really not that hard. You just have to pin a lot. So I did make it just a little bit oversized because in the video I made it the way that I had originally drafted it, and I found that it shrinks a little bit, and it tends to want to shrink right at the edges or the sides here. So I did make it just a little bit bigger, so you might have to trim it down. It depends on your piecing, so you'll just have to see what it measures after you get it done. And I think there's a little noise going on upstairs. I think my husband is cleaning the deck or something. Sorry about that. The basement is the noisiest room in the house. So anyway, I really hope you like this block and give it a try. It is fun to piece, and this is one of my favorite blocks, and you can color it many different colors and it would turn out to look like a whole different block. So for instance, if you colored these right here a different color, or you colored these a different color, or you made the inside of the crown a different color, or the background a different color. There's a lot of different ways. I've tried coloring it lots of ways, and it always looks like a different block. So I hope you have fun. Thanks. So here's the instructions for the paper piece block we're going to be working on. I have colored it in Christmas colors. And this is going to be, you're going to have 3 units with this block. So the first unit, which is unit A, and this is the unit in between these colors right here. So it's the darker color in the center of the flower. And this pattern looks better with the big ones a lighter color than the ones on the outside edge right here. I cut it 3 times this morning, and this is the way it looks the best. So these should be a darker color. And you can see I have gray written on here, which I actually am going to be using this dark poinsettia fabric. So I have these cut out according to my chart over here. And so if you have a different color, just cross this out and put your color and try not to get confused, because I did a couple of times. So here's all my fabric for this unit, and I'm just going to keep it together. And then we have unit B, which is this unit on the diagram. And that's what unit B looks like. And this is the lighter red that I'm going to use for the center of this unit. And here's my background colors for this unit. So just follow the cutting chart to cut those and keep those together. And then you're going to have a crown unit. And this is the crown. And this is what it looks like. Kind of looks like a tulip or something like that. So this one has the most pieces. So you're going to have 7 pieces with the crown. And this is the middle of the crown, which is the darker red. And then the sides of the light tulip is going to be the same color as the center. And then all your background colors. So you have actually, let's see, yeah, background, the red, the light red, and then the dark red, which I have green. I was going to make it green, but when I colored it in my Adobe software, I didn't like it, so I changed my mind. Usually I'll try to color it exactly with the fabric I'm using, but some of this fabric I have is, I don't know, 5 years old, so I couldn't find all of the images for all the fabric. So those are all our paper piece units. In addition to your paper piece units, there's a template in the pattern, and you're going to have to take the template, cut it out, and cut it on the line all the way around, and then tape these 2 pieces together. And then once you tape it together, you're going to get a square of freezer paper that's about 13 inches, and it looks just like that. And then you're going to fold it on the diagonal. You're going to take your paper template. I have this the wrong way. You're going to take your paper template, trace around it on the fold by placing this on the fold so that you can create a full-size pattern. And you're going to need this to cut out the last part. So take this, put it on your background fabric, and you might want to cut this first because you don't want to get short if you know, it's going to take a yard of fabric to cut all the background pieces. And what I usually do is, here's my background. I'll take and iron this on close to an edge somewhere and cut it out. And then I'll peel it up and I'll put this one. I'll take the template and put it over here, and then cut this one out. So you can use the least amount of fabric possible. So just 1 layer or 2 layers, and then do it like that, and then you can get all 4 of the background patterns. So we can set that aside. That's our very last step. And then we have 1 little circle. And you're going to need a piece of interfacing. I'm using Lori Holt's applique interfacing. And this will be applique on. So you can hand stitch it or you can sew it. And I thought about using this fabric. I might change my mind. It just depends on how it's going to look. So in the pattern, if you have, you're going to have the circle in. It's going to look like that. I cut the outer edge off and went with the smaller circle because I'm going to put these together and draw the circle around there, and that'll be my stitching line. So the inner circle is the stitching line, the outer circle is the cut line. The pattern has some diagrams showing you the steps you need to do all of these pieces, and then I included a little diagram. You can color it in and, you know, see how you want to make it look. So if you want a TIFF image, let me know. I can send you a TIFF image too if you want to use it in Photoshop or some other coloring software. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to start with Unit A, and I have pre-folded all my paper. So you want to cut your templates out about 1/8 of an inch away from the template, or the outside edge of the template. I pre-folded all of mine using just a piece of cardstock that's been laminated. Many people do this at the sewing machine. You can do that. I like to pre-fold so I don't have to do that step at the sewing machine. And so now we're going to take all of our number 1 pieces, which are the background, and we're going to get our glue stick, and these things are so hard to open. And just put a little bit of glue on there, and you're going to glue the fabric down. It's a little tight there. It'll be fine. So you don't want a ton of glue, but you want enough glue that it's going to stick. If you put too much glue, then it will stay stuck to your fabric after you take off the papers. And I might increase this just a little bit so you have a little bit more room. But go ahead and finish gluing all of those to your A units. Okay, I have all my A units glued down, and I'm just going to stick these all back together and keep them together. And then we're going to start on our next unit. We want to prepare all these before we go to our sewing machine, so we don't have a lot of work to do when we get over there. Turn your template upside down. Take your nice big red piece, put some glue on there, and then glue this one down. And then you're just going to go ahead and do that to all of those and get those ready. Thanks. All my B units are ready. All right, so just stick those together and put those aside. And now we're going to work on our last paper pieced units. And this one we're going to start with the center. And you can see, because I folded my paper, I can actually see exactly where that is. Now this paper is easy for me to see through also, but just in case you have a problem seeing where you need to put your A's, you might want to try pre-folding your papers. And you're just going to stick it right there, and you just make sure that it is covering all the edges. And you can see it from the other side. So as long as you have fabric on all sides, then you should be good. So go ahead and glue all of those on, and then we'll take everything to the sewing machine. All right, we're at the sewing machine, and I'm going to go ahead and start. I have my stitch length set to 2. You want to turn it down. You don't want to stitch at 2.5 because it'll make it harder to tear your paper off. And I have a little iron set up over here. I have a little cutting board at my sewing machine that I use. And I have my rotary cutter. And I have a 1/4 ruler. So you're going to need those things. Unless you want to keep getting up, you can put them on, you know, if you have room next to your sewing machine, or you can put them on a little roll around card. However you want to set it up. I like having mine right here on my sewing machine. I made sure my husband built this exactly to fit my ironing tablet and my ironing pad and my cutting board. Okay, so we're going to start, like I said, with Unit A. And the first thing we want to do, we have all our Section 1 fabric already glued down. So we want to fold it over on Section 2. Here's Section 2. So we want to fold it over on that line on Section 2. Put our 1/4 ruler right next to that fold line. And it'll just stay right next to it, and then we cut it off, and it looks just like that. And then we're going to take our smaller one of these. I'm not sure where to put the pins. There we go. And so you're always going to put right sides together. So I'm going to keep my paper folded because I can see where my section 2 is. Here's my fold line. I can kind of see the line underneath. And I know my fabric, this fabric needs to stick out further than that line. So here's where the line ends. That means that's all of section 2, and I have the fabric sticking past that. And then I just line up the long end right there, and I have enough fabric up here. I have enough fabric, you know, to cover this whole piece. I can see that. And so after you get it positioned exactly where you need it, and you don't have to keep folding this or, you know, put your fabric like this to try to figure out where you need to put it. You just need to know where your section 2 line ends, which is right here. Like I said, if it's folded or you can see through the paper, then you can tell where your fabric needs to be. And so take it to the sewing machine. And I'm going to make some noise before it starts. And then you're going to sew from there and then a little bit past the section 3 line right here. Then you're going to turn it like this, fold it back, iron it. And it's best if you do iron these instead of just finger pressing. And then you're going to take your next section. And you can kind of pull the paper away from where you stitched over. Take your add-a-quarter ruler, put it up next to the paper, the folded paper, and then trim it. So this has a little slot right here, and it will stay right next to the paper and give you a perfect 1/4 inch. Now you're going to take your next fabric, which is the longer one, the bigger piece, and then you're going to place it so that we have enough fabric up here and it covers all of this tip. So you can tell where it is with this folded back on if you have enough fabric to cover this whole piece. And then you're just going to fold it back. Stitch on that line, and then fold your fabric, and then iron it. And that's what it should look like. I have all the pattern piece covered. There's fabric on all edges, and all I need to do is cut around the outside edge, and then my unit will be done. So I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to finish all my units first. And normally what I do is you can either cut them and stack them like this. And then do the next one. Cut it. And then you can just kind of chain piece them. So that's normally what I do. I just, you know, stack them all up, and then I just sew that one section, then flip it over, iron it, and then sew the next section. So I'm going to go ahead and finish all of my unit A's, and then we'll start on unit B. I have unit A all done, and if I was you, I'd probably take these over to the cutting board and trim them. If you're going to wait until you get everything done to trim them, then you're going to be standing there for a long time trimming units. So it just depends on what you want to do. I I kind of find it annoying to trim a whole bunch of them at the same time. I am going to wait until the end today because I'm doing this video, but normally I might take them to the cutting table and start trimming them just so I don't have a stack of them when I'm done. So we're going to start on unit B, and these are so simple because they only have 3 sections. So you're going to fold over section 2. If you don't have it folded already, then you're going to lay your little tool, put that on there, fold it over, and just trim it. And then you're going to take one of your little triangles and probably center it somewhere in the middle. So you want your little, you have to be careful where this triangle is underneath. And actually, as long as you have some fabric, see if I folded it over right now, that's how much fabric I have hanging off the edge of my section 2. And of course I have more up here at the top, but you can see the point under here, and you can see your point here, and you can feel your fabric underneath. It comes to about right there, and so that's where you want to position it, and then just go ahead and sew it. Now, of course, if I was doing this without filming, I would just sew all section 2, and then I'd come back and do section 3, but I'm going to show you section 3 at the same time. So it's all covered, so we're good to go. Now you're going to have this little piece right here where you sewed all the way to the end, and this one's not going to fold, so you're going to have to put your fingernail right there, kind of tear it a little bit until you get to the section 3 line. Fold this little guy over, and then fold the rest of it just like that. And then put your add a quarter ruler down, trim it, take another little triangle, always right sides together, and then position it so that your little point is right there, and you have enough over here on the edge. So I can feel my fabric underneath, and I know this point is covered, and I know this is covered. So it looks kind of like that if you folded it back. You'll get used to being able to feel it, but you can kind of see it, you know. You can see where your triangle is. And then just go ahead and sew that. Now there are going to be times you're going to mess up, and then you're going to have to pull it out. You can still unstitch it without tearing your paper. You just have to get your seam ripper between the paper and right here, and then you can take it out without tearing the paper. So there's what your unit should look like when you're finished. And when you trim it up, it will be a perfect unit. So I'm going to go ahead and finish all of those, and we'll be back. Okay, all of our A and B units are done now, and we're going to work on our crown, which is going to take us the longest. Those were really actually pretty fast, the other units. This one obviously is going to take a little bit more time because we have 7 sections. So we already have our section 1 glued on there. So we're going to find our line between section 1 and section 2, fold it back, and trim it. find our section 2 fabric, which happens to be these little short ones right here. And I think they're a little bit of a rectangle, so I think we need to put the rectangle with the long edge down, and then kind of set it close to the top there, because here's the end of your section 2. I can see it because it's folded, and my fabric is coming all the way over here, so I have plenty of room for section 2. Don't get confused, there's a line right here too, but that's for section 4. We're just concerned about this line right here for section 2. And we'll go ahead and sew it. So I sewed just a little bit over the section 4 line that runs right here. Take my fabric, fold it over, and we're going to iron it. And then I'm going to look at section 3, which is on this side. And again, we have sewed over the line for section 3, so we're going to have to tear it with our fingernail a little bit. And this is what I'm talking about. Just tear it, fold it, and then take and fold that little corner also. And then trim it. And this is all of your section 3, is this line right here. It stops right here. This is the other section, so don't worry about that. Take another one of these rectangles, short side up, and then kind of place it over to this edge, just a little bit past that edge. Line it up, and then make sure you have enough fabric. I have fabric that comes all the way over to here. Here's my section 2 line, so I know I'm good. So this time I had to start on the inside, so I just started a little past section 5, the line on section 5, and then sewed straight up. Go ahead and press it. And of course, you're going to do one section at a time for all of them, and then advance to the next section, but we're going to go ahead and complete this one unit. And that's what it kind of looks like. If those little guys get in your way, you can kind of cut them off. Okay, so now we need to do section 4, which is over here. So we fold this line, and there's going to be a little bit of stitching. Just pull it back. And then you fold it along that line. This really is going to be the hardest unit because it has a lot more to it. And so it kind of looks like that. And then we're going to find our small rectangles that look like this. Put right sides together. And this is very small. It starts right here. There's the corner, and then there's the other corner. So it's kind of confusing because you have all these other lines, but you're only concerned with that one section or that one portion of it. So I'm going to place my fabric so that it covers this whole section. And I can feel it under here. My fabric goes all the way down to here, and it comes all the way over here, and it's all the way over here. I actually made this quite large for this little section. So go ahead and sew that. you hear my sewing machine make a little whining noise. It's old and it whines. So, okay, so I sewed a little bit over this section 5 line, and I sewed from here all the way to there. And then I'm just going to iron it. Just like that. And so now we're going to do section 5. So here's the line that we need to do, is right here next to section 5. So we're going to fold it over, and there's 2 little places that we have stitched over that we have to kind of pull the threads from the paper, and then press it just like that. Section 5, and then trim it. And then we get our larger rectangles. And so section 5 starts right here and it ends over here. So our rectangle needs to we need to make sure our rectangle goes past that point at least 1/4 of an inch, which mine is all the way to here, and there's the end of it. And here's the end of it on this side and the end of it. And you're going to notice that there's a little kind of a fold right here, but that was the fold we used for section 4, and it's not really a section. So this is section 5. It looks just like that, and we have enough fabric. And then we'll go ahead and sew that on. We'll take and iron it. And it looks just like that. So you can see I have it all covered, all of section 5. So that's what we got so far. Not too bad. I hope you guys, I hope I'm making this easy for you. Now we're going to do section 6. So this is the line that we need to fold over, and you're going to have a little bit of thread over here, so you can just kind of pull it away from the paper, and a little bit of thread right there. And place your outer quarter ruler and trim. Should look like that. And now we're going to take our big rectangles for our background fabric. And this is what it looks like. Make sure you only have one. I've actually sewn 2 in before. And then place it right sides together. And you want to make sure you cover this tip. And you cover all the way over here. So I can feel my fabric, it comes down to here. There's fabric covering it over here, and it's covered over there. And then go ahead and sew that. Sorry about my sewing machine whining. Sometimes it does it, and sometimes it doesn't. All right, and you can see we have plenty of room, and if you trim your papers a little bit closer than I have right here, then you won't freak out if you get it too close. All right, so now we're going to do the last section, which is section 7, and we're going to have to tear the paper away right here. So put your fingernail there, kind of rip the paper, then you can fold those 2 over. And then it kind of goes over here too, so just kind of rip that just like that. Fold it over. Now I do have a longer add a quarter ruler, but I'm just going to use this one. Just slide it down. Works just as good. And it should look like that. We're going to take another long rectangle, place it on our fabric or on our unit, right sides together. We want to cover this tip, and we want to cover this tip, and we want to cover this tip. And then go ahead and iron that. And look at that beautiful little unit. Turned out so pretty. And this is what it looks like when you're done. And then you're just going to trim it right next to the last line of the unit. And you can trim the curve with scissors or however you want. And I'll show you that in a few minutes. But look how beautiful that is. And you can't do that with just regular piecing. And I think that looks really good. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of the units. It'll probably take me a little bit longer than the other ones. And then we'll go ahead and trim them all up. You need to trim all your units. I'm trimming the crown unit right now, and I'm using my rotary cutter to trim the curves. You can use scissors if you're more comfortable doing that. And just remove all your papers. Go ahead and trim all the A and B units. And you can trim everything with the ruler that's straight, and then you'll have to freehand the curves or use your scissors. And then once you're done, just make sure all the papers are removed and we can continue. All right, I got all the papers off, and I'm going to start laying out the center, and it's really pretty easy. You just go just like that. One of each. So I'm curious to see what this is going to look like. I just realized I filmed the last segment without the mic on, so you're going to hear me do a voiceover. All right. Can probably scoot it in a little bit more, but we need to sew. Oh, it looks really pretty. I like it. We need to sew this together, so just pick a point, start sewing around in a circle until you get to the other side. I finished sewing the inside circle together, and I forgot, you do have to kind of match these points right here. And it's really not that difficult, but I had to go over a few of my seams a little bit more just to get them to match up. So you can see another one right here. Actually, I think I might have had to do, it's kind of funny because it kind of wobbles over that seam a little bit. I had to actually do quite a few of them. So if it doesn't come out right, just go over your seam again until it closes up a little bit. Like this one right here, I think I can go over that seam one more time and just, go a hair or thread width on the other side, because it wants to, every time it goes over that seam, it kind of wants to do some weird stuff. Anyway, I'll probably go fix that, but it should look like that. I think it looks really pretty. This is my inside circle. I just took that circle and sewed on the interfacing right sides together and then turned it out. And then I'm just going to hand sew it to the middle. And I think that circle looks okay. I think I'll go with it. So the next thing we're going to do is we need to sew the outside crown into a circle. And then we'll sew this circle into that circle. But I want to get this on here first. I'll hand stitch that and then we can sew these and continue. Sorry about the noise in the background. I'm trying to wait for the water softener to quit making noise, but it's taking forever. So I finished sewing my middle applique to the center of my star, and this is what it looks like on the back. Everything is pressed in one direction, and I did hand stitch this down, and that's what it looks like. And I tried to make sure my little points over here matched as best I could, and I think it looks pretty good. So the second thing I did was I took my crown border and I sewed these edge to edge into a circle. Really pretty simple. We're going to take and sew this into this, and then I also took and sewed my border together on the short edges to form a circle also. So I have those two pieces ready, and so the first thing we're going to do is work on this one, and it's always a little bit of a mystery to try to get this together, because you got to kind of turn the circle inside out, right, like this, but you want to match this point to this point. So you're going to match these points, and you're going to want to pin this and make sure that the points match. So I'm just going to put a pin right through. Oh, finally it went off. A pin right through the center of those 2 points. And then I'll take another pin and stick it on the side there. And then I'm going to go around and do that for each one of these little points here. And then we'll come back and, pin it right here. So you're going to pin all the points, matching the points of the star, flower, whatever you want to call it, and then you'll pin in between after you're done. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that, and I'll show you what it looks like. I finished pinning my the little crown to my center circle, and I did use a lot of pins, only because I do not want to have to resew this. So use as many pins as you feel comfortable, and then go ahead and sew that circle in. All right, I sewed my crown on, and then I ended up pressing the seam open because there is a lot of bulk right here where these two intersections meet. So I think that worked out better. I had to actually put some press on it to get it to lay flat. And then I also put some fresh press on the whole thing to get it to lay flat too. So if you have a little bit of waviness, you might try that to get it to lay flat. And I think it looks really pretty. So the next thing we're going to do is sew this in. So you just need to determine if you want your little points to go up and down, kind of like that. And then you can match this corner to this corner to this one to this one, and this one to this one. Of course, they all go inside out like this. So just do the best you can. And just start pinning all of those. And then you can start pinning in between. If you're going to pin, you know, you can glue base this also if you want to do that. So just got to remember where where my other corner was, over here. And then after you get all those done, then you're just going to find the center and then pin it to that, and then finish pinning all the way around. Here's the completed block, and I think it looks really pretty. I think I am going to add 1/4 of an inch around this outside border, make it 1/4 inch bigger, because this block has a tendency to shrink in, and I think it would be better if maybe you trimmed it up to get it at 24.5, because right now what it wants to do is it's like the bottom is 24.5, but the sides seem to want to come in a little bit, and I think if I left a little bit of room, then it'll be easier to get it exactly square. I mean, it's just a lot of circle piecing and all of that, but I think it still looked pretty good. I hope you guys like this. Thanks.